I was asked if we could rearrange the agenda and move
October
the
26th meeting.
director of position appointment up higher on the agenda. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, so we'll do it after the consent calendar. First, no, do it after the consent calendar. It'll become item before the treasurer's report, Ron? Yeah, okay. All right. So what I thought we'd do today is, I'm sure everybody wants to talk. What I thought we'd do is we have our, it's not a hearing exactly, so if you want to talk about an item, like the appointment, or, well, let's do that now so we can have everybody's comments ahead of time. And then, that as public input.
Greg, I just have an appeal that I'd like to make.
We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. Are you okay?
Well, excuse me, is that before hearing comments from the folks that are applying for the position?
Right, we'll do that later at that time.
Will we have time to question
No,
them at that point?
no.
So we don't really know what their positions are on anything, or the reasons for wanting the position? It seems to me we should have the folks who are applying make some sort of statement, and then there could be public input on what they've said.
Okay. What do you guys think? That could go on for hours. So I wasn't planning on doing it that way. What do you guys want to do?
Well, sometimes we don't.
I think that's a reasonable request. I think you have it in your authority to cut it off at any point. You can just make an appeal that, don't ask the same question over and over again. There's probably very few questions, and
Okay.
I think it's reasonable.
Okay. Okay, Wendy. So, shall we not have people talk pro and con about their favorite director person until that part of the meeting then?
No, let the people that are running introduce themselves, and then we'll do the public input.
Yes.
What we're saying is eliminate the opening public input in favor of questioning the candidate.
You know what, let's just do it. All right, we're just gonna do it the way it says. So right now, we're open for public input. Anybody that wants to talk, you got up to 3 minutes to talk about something. The candidates will be talking later at that section, and then if you want to ask questions at that point, we need to keep the time kind of reasonable, so if you talk now and use your 3 minutes up, you don't get your 3 minutes later.
Is this about any
I just have an appeal.
This is on any topic right
Yes,
now.
I have an appeal. We have a resident that has been brought home from a nursing home who has an extreme medical equipment problem. This equipment is a life or death matter. It has 1 hour backup. Now, the CAN committee has applied for a grant to supply such residents with propane generators. As we all know, we cannot guarantee a grant until it is given. We are looking for, and Steve, thank you, I don't know you're here, spent all last weekend getting an old gasoline generator working, but we all know gasoline generators have to be started every couple days. They're not. What we are looking for to temporarily help us is the loan of a propane generator for maybe 1 to 2 months. If anyone has that, it used to be that this generator, this individual could be taken to fire station 15 and plugged into theirs. This is no longer something we can do. So we're looking into inverter ideas, we're looking into anything. This is a life or death matter. If we lose power in this community for over an hour, we have to supply somehow power for this equipment. So if you have a propane generator you can lend us, or any ideas or thoughts, please talk to Connie or Linda or myself, and we would love, like I said, it is a life or death matter, so thank you.
How much does one cost?
We have one that we found, it's a self-starter on the internet that we need about $600 with a propane thing, a propane tank. And like I said, we're hoping to be able to buy these if we get this grant. If not, we will do some fundraising or some other way to find. This is the one individual in this community who is rated critical. Like I said, they must have power within an hour. or it's a life or death problem. So if anyone has any solutions, or Connie?
I'm going to be donating the 5-gallon tank.
Yeah, we have that. We're just looking for an option for the next month or two until we can get a permanent solution.
Who's their provider and what's their need?
I'm not allowed to say that. Their medical needs are
When
private.
When you're a provider, you're accredited, the Joint Commission of Accreditation Healthcare Organizations requires you as a provider to guarantee the support of your patient. So it's quite possible that all of this could be taken care of by their provider.
And we're looking through that. Right now, we're having trouble getting them a special mattress that,
If they're a Medicare patient or they're one of the major insurance plans, they're required to be accredited, and their provider is required by their accreditation to make sure that they have a battery backup or some sort
And
of
they
backup.
do. They have a 1-hour battery backup, and that's all they seem to think they need.
It would be red plugs or whatever it
Yeah,
would be.
yeah. So this is a neighbor helping neighbor type of thing. So if anyone has any ideas or can help us with this.
The
please
fire
start.
department has 3 generators, and when the juice goes off, they have a big generator that goes on, so that always will have power, so we can always get battery packs.
The problem is this patient is no longer mobile.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we cannot get him down to Fire Station 15 as we used to before.
Right.
I had a solution for, I mean, this is just very, very temporary, but until you find a better solution. When my daughter was younger, she had really bad asthma. We'd go camping. There's a thing you can plug into the
We're
adapter
looking
in
into
your
that.
car, and
Yeah.
it's cheap. And as
Yeah.
long as you've got gas in your car, you've got power just
It's
running.
not, it will not provide enough current. We've already done the.
Yeah, we're looking into
really?
that for this. We've been looking into all solutions. I'm just announcing to the community, if anybody knows anything that can help us, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
And we do have 2 portable generators
It'd be
that
great
work.
if we could have one for a month or 2.
Okay, Connie,
I hate to beg your forgiveness for being out of order. I've got a Halloween party to go set up, so this is my only chance to put in my 2 cents. My 2 cents are that we have a person that has been democratically voted for. That's the person that should proceed into the next position. I love you all. I gotta go play Halloween monster. See ya.
yes.
I nominate Jane.
Amen.
Can you say that again?
Anybody else?
All in favor? I second it. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Dan Dulac. I run Aguinaga Green. I've lived in the canyon for 27 years, and we're the ones that had the fire out here about 3 weeks ago. And I have to apologize because they still have us not letting residents bring material there. I'm hoping by Monday, excuse me, I'm sorry. By Monday that they'll start letting us do that again. One of the challenges is our permit is for wholesale only, so they're saying that I can't have the public, and so we're trying to work it through because we don't charge anything. We get sometimes money through the Fire Safe Council, through grants and stuff, but we haven't got that for years. So anyway, so we're hoping next week to have that. We brought a container out for the fire safe thing the other day. So, and if anybody has any questions about the fire and the incident, please call me anytime, or I'll be here at this meeting here. So, and you know, we've always supported the community. You know, the Children's Center. I have 5 daughters. All the daughters went through the Children's Center there. Shay knows them all, and you know, we have 24-hour security out there in Baker, and if anyone has any questions about what we have going on here, just either come out anytime or give us a call, okay?
Before you leave, I have a thank you from the Silverado Children's Center. This morning when we pulled up to paint the inside of the preschool room, there was already a truckload of wood chips for our playground that was cited for having decomposed wood chips. We needed to have 12 inches, and we didn't have it, and I talked to Dan yesterday, there was a truck there today.
Thanks,
So,
Dan.
thank you for the
I have a, so Dan, the permit goes, would it help for the community to write to the county to ask that there'll be, as a public service, you let residents in to, because of the safety factor?
Of course, that'd be helpful. If anybody can call them or send any letters, let them know that, because we do it only for the canyon community. We actually take it all the way to Tribuco. Everyone's been up there pretty much, as long as you show that you're from Silverado and you're not a contractor making money type of thing.
So
That would be helpful.
who would we address our comments to?
Either the planning department.
Is that?
Planning department's who we're working with, the zoning administrator there.
Oh, the new guy, Zandemir?
Sandmeyer?
Yeah.
Sansemeyer. He'd probably be a good one, or either Nacho.
Oh,
the road
okay.
department.
So
He's in
if
charge.
we wrote an email or something asking that there be an exception made for
The
us,
canyon
the
people.
canyon, because of, and bring safety and nonprofit or whatever. Okay.
Exactly, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for the donation. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, consent calendar.
Lisa had it on.
Lisa.
I wanted to make a comment about an email that I had received, which then kind of led me to ask a few more questions. So I don't know if I'm okay to read a short email and then make my comment after that, if you're okay with that.
2 minutes and 55 seconds to go.
Okay, this is an email that was sent to me from Lindsay Eadsvold, the previous SCC director for a short time on Monday, August 5th. It says, "Hi Lisa, I'm having some concerns. I spoke with Amy this morning and I wasn't aware that we were not an actual nonprofit. I have worked hard over the past few weeks trying to apply for grants only to be turned down because our tax ID isn't valid. The nonprofit is actually ran through Shay. Does this mean she controls the budget and fundraising money? I honestly need all the facts laid out at this point. I was under the impression as interim director that I would be in charge of all aspects of the school, including budget, fundraising, etc. I looked over the budget very closely over the weekend and there are some issues that I need explained. In all honesty, I really need to know all the details, including my compensation, before committing to this. I can't get involved if I'm going to be held responsible for the debt, past budget, or illegal activity." My concern for this was it wasn't until this email that I even knew that Canyonland was doing fundraising as a board member, or even before when I was on the advisory committee. I didn't know that that was the only fundraising avenue that we had.
It's not.
Excuse me, so I wanted to just find out about that. Like I said, as a board member, I wasn't aware that Canyonland was involved in that. So I wanted to address the board and get an understanding of how involved that is and what works, and if we can see some financials on what has actually come in and what's gone out on that. Based on this and some of the emails that we heard last board meeting, I'd like to request the board to provide all communication from Shay Peterson and the school since she's been a board member.
That was unclear to me what you want.
All email communication from Shay and the school, between the Shay and the school.
The Children's Center?
The Children's Center, correct. Since she's become a board member, because I think that there's some interesting things that have been going on, and it's my right to be able to ask for all communications.
It's my understanding that anyone in the community can donate to the SMRPD or to the Silverado Children's Center. We're not specific to who those organizations are. Any organization can donate to a children's center or a government entity. It's a tax exempt
Well, then there should be
donation.
transparency, and I think all of us at the time when I was a board member were in the dark that that was really going on.
What was going on exactly?
That there was,
That there's donations going to the children's
That
center
there was
from root beer
fundraising.
float sales?
That's ludicrous.
I'm serious.
Are you talking about the
I
chili
don't
cook-off or the country fair? Those are the two.
Well, so, as I understand it, and I've said this in meetings before, we love all volunteers equally, and we take every donation from anybody who wants to give it to us, and we're glad to get it. It's not our purview on how the money is raised and who gives us the money. A third-party organization that wants to give us money, they're sure welcome to, and we need it because that $12,000 roughly that we were getting from all kinds of people is what's kept the Children's Center afloat. So
I understand, but there's numerous examples of advertising for local events where the Children's Center is advertised as a nonprofit, which it's not that. So
well, actually, it is a nonprofit in that we are a nonprofit. We actually do have a tax ID number. Lindsay just didn't have the right tax ID number.
Sorry, we're not a nonprofit. A nonprofit has a specific meaning, and we don't fall under any of those characterizations. We are a government agency.
As a government agency.
So that's what confuses everybody.
Yeah,
That's what confuses everybody is because just because we don't make a profit people say we're a nonprofit, but nonprofit has specific legal meaning, so let's not use that.
But you can give money to the Parks and Rec and get a write-off on your taxes. I think that's where Greg's going with the nonprofit.
We're an agency that we're a tax deductible donation.
Right.
And that means anything that goes to the Children's Center is a tax deductible donation if you need that. And we'll give you any receipt you want, so donate frequently and whenever you feel like it. So my understanding, because my wife and I are involved in a lot of charity events, that if we had a third-party organization that wants to raise money on our behalf, or on anybody's behalf, you don't get to go and ask them for their financials. They might be, like everybody's found out, there's that firefighter police organization someplace, and they give like 2 cents on the dollar. And that'll get them that's gotten them shut down by the government. But it's not, we don't care. We just love all your money and we want all your money. Please donate, like I said, vote frequently and often, or early and often. So, now your other point, Lisa, was about asking for records. So you have to submit a records request, and then we'll send it to the attorney. I don't know that you have any right to get the emails of that, so we have to ask her for that. I don't know the
but I
answer.
think that it was very clear that it was, in communications that were sent about keeping me totally out of the Children's Center and being on the advisory board. I think that was just inappropriate. So I think that was kind of a malicious, attack on another board member. So,
Okay. Well, give us something in writing, okay?
I'm happy to do that.
President of the Canyonlands Conservation Fund in Amador. For 4 years, we've been making root beer floats at the International Street Fair, and we raised a few $1,000s over the last few years for the Children's Center, and I don't think it's malicious, or there's not a cabal of root beer float sellers.
But we will say, Lisa, you're invited to join us next year and help make those.
And it's a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of folks from the community that go and make root beer floats, and we raise a few $1,000s for the Children's Center. I hope that doesn't stop in the next few years, because we'll continue.
And they don't even go down to the street fair to promote environmental causes. It's all about the root beer floats, the street fair participation, community, and then the money goes over. It's not a big deal. But it's a really hot weekend, so we would rather have your support as a community to continue that.
Thanks. And we get money from everybody in all sides of the political spectrum. We like it all. We need it all. Anybody else? Okay, consent calendar, we have, well, this is only going to take a second. We have minutes from both September 24th meeting, the one where we appointed Lindsay and approved daffodils, and then the regular meeting that followed. Does anybody have want to pull that, or is that okay?
I have a comment.
Yes.
On the, we had 2 meetings back to back. The board meeting was first, I believe.
The special meeting was first.
Special meeting was first, and then the regular meeting followed.
Yes.
Okay, on both of the headings, it shows that they started at 7 o'clock.
That's the scheduled time, and then in the minutes, it actually reflects when it actually happens.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then we have our regular 3 transmittals. Are we okay to, is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as it's presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar as listed.
All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Okay. So we're moving, the next item is the director position appointment, fill the vacant SMRPD board director seat. And I would like to, here's the kind of the thought was we would have both candidates get up and talk, essentially for as long as you want. We're not going to cut you off, but reasonably long. And then I guess we'll let everybody ask questions or make comments. Who would like to start? We have Jane Bove from Silverado and Linda Kearns from Santiago, Williams, Jackson Ranch, wherever that area is over there. Who would like to start?
Okay.
All right. My name is Jane Bowe. I think I know most everybody in here. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Kevin. My compatriots from the fair. I thought I would read the letter that I wrote, that I submitted to the Parks and Recs to get this position. And then I just have a few added comments after that. It won't be very long, so I'll make it short and sweet. So I would like to submit a request to be a director of the SMRPD. I was a candidate for the position in the last election and was the next runner-up behind Lisa Collins. This does show that I did get the next largest amount of votes. To give you some background, I've been an executive of the Church of Scientology of Orange County for 34 years. I was in charge of personnel training and quality control. It gave me a lot of skill in handling public and ensuring product correction. My strength is in understanding people and being able to communicate well. I also am an excellent organizer and get the job done. Currently, I'm retired from the church, though I still help them at times when needed. I also volunteer as a supervisor for Criminon, which is an organization which teaches extension courses to prisoners to help to rehabilitate them. It is based off the works of L. Ron Hubbard, but is a secular group. I've lived in Silverado since July 1970. I've raised 3 children here. Since approximately 1974, I've been involved in the community events. I started with the children's Halloween parties and then moved over to the country fairs from 1979 to 1985. I built it up to a large booming fair at the Silverado Elementary School, and it was a PTA fundraiser for the school at that time. During a couple of those years, I was also the president of the Inter Canyon League, and I originally started the incorporation of the Inter Canyon League. I became remarried and then pregnant with my youngest son in 1986 and 87 and went back to work very full-time at the church in 1988. And it was 18 years later when I picked up the country fair again in 2006 and have been running it ever since. It is a booming fair and the largest fundraiser for the canyons every year. I work very well with Shay and get along just fine with Tom, Ron, and Greg. I want to see the SMRPD flourish with lots of activities in both Silverado and Modjeska community centers, while also working to upgrade both community centers and having an active hand in the use of the old Silverado school site and the Silverado Children's Center. I feel I can bring a lot to this district. I respectfully request an appointment to the board. Now, I just wanted to add, the mission of the SMRPD is to promote community well-being through programs and activities that protect and preserve and enrich the canyon's heritage, open space, and unique way of life. So that's what we're here for, and that's what I want to keep it to and constantly remind everybody that that's what we're about, so that we can all work together well as a community and keep that mission going. And the activities I'd like to help enhance this mission are upgrading both the community centers, helping to resolve problems with Modjeska's Park, getting the Silverado Children's Center stabilized and flourishing under its own power and resources, helping with OC Parks to turn the Silverado Elementary School land site into something which will enhance all of our community, and keeping steady promotion going out to keep the community aware of all our current activities and to promote to new ones. So that is what I have to say, and if anybody has any questions, I will answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Jane right now?
Go Jane.
Well, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, Tom, Linda May, and I, and Shay sat out on a green bench out there and talked about ways that SMRPD can partner with Country Fair. I've made no secret that I want the SMRPD to grow as an organization in terms of what our revenue streams are and our influence outside the district. So I thought that the fair was a great place to do that. That conversation lasted a little while, and the message that came back was, we're not interested. Since then, 2 other fairs have happened, and I still think it's important that directors are organizing and running events in the community center that are not under SMRPD visibility. I don't know, I don't say that there's anything going on, it's just that the public doesn't know. And there's a perception that it's hidden, and it's a perception that I wanted to change by just working out some sort of partnership. Not that you alone, as a member of the Board of Fair, could have done anything, but I would have preferred to get some sort of message back, like, let's work on it. So, I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's totally
Moving
fine.
forward, I
think-
still think that's important.
Yeah, at the
But what does
time,
the public think?
at the time, it was just a decision back and forth. At the time, we did feel we needed to partner with either SMRPD or the Inter Canyon League. And the decision was that it had originally, or at one point had been under the Inter Canyon League. I don't know that it originally was. And we decided to put it back there.
What stopped the board from volunteering to help with the,
No, that's what we did.
with us?
Well, without the Parks and Rec Board,
Volunteered to help with the fair?
I'd like to comment, so everyone understands, the Silverado Country Fair is a private business.
No, it's not.
DBA. It has a bank account.
it's not private, it's in the Inter Canyon League.
It's a public business.
It's all under Inter Canyon League.
We did that a year ago.
You turned the bank account and everything?
Everything is under the.
So the Inter Canyon League owns the Silverado Country Fair?
It is.
It's a community fair.
Committee under
It's a
the
committee.
Inter Canyon League.
It's a
Which is
committee.
sponsored
Okay, well,
through
it
the
had been,
501.
it had been a DBA.
No.
Is that correct?
Never, I don't know.
There was once a
I
DB,
read it for 8 years.
There was-
It's never been a DBA.
there was a DBA because we had to have a checking account to pay for we had to have a bank account, so we originally got one. Remember, there was
Yeah,
a,
I went to the bank to open an account under Silverado Country Fair, and they said I had to go to the county and fill out a DBA.
Okay, so
That's
it
all I
was
knew, and that's
established
all I
as a
did.
private business to open the account.
no, it's just a way to get the money moving.
There's only a way to put it into the bank.
There's
That's
two.
the simplicity.
There's organizationally and legally, there's a public sector and a private sector. 501s, nonprofits are private. Even if they have this huge committee on them, then the public sector is what we are, because we represent the public, because the public votes for us. So it's not a private individual who runs Country Fair and ICL, but it is a private corporation. It is a corporation. Even if it's a 501c3 nonprofit, it is a corporation.
Nonprofit, 501.
And the issue is what? I would like to know, what is the issue here?
The issue is the lack of transparency.
The transparency, what? There's always been transparent, Ron. We've always brought the money forward. They know where it's going from. You guys make up this crap as you go.
Okay, come on, one person at a
It's
time.
ridiculous.
The issue is the transparency
Of what?
of the finances.
Of what? It's always been on a sheet.
One at a time.
Well, it's a bunch of crap.
Okay, Ron.
Sorry.
The transparency, if you would like to see the checkbook, it's in my purse, I'll be glad to negotiate.
It's
I
not-
copy the
it's
whole
not me.
thing and I give it to the Treasury and Inter Canyon League now
You
every
can
year.
read the ICL.
2 years ago, you're right, it was not over to ICL. And so at that point, we made the decision that you were right, we had to turn it over to one of the groups and make it all more transparent, so we turned it over to the ICL. So that's what has been done because of your comments, and that's where it's been. It's all there, I turned everything over to Chris.
So it's ICL and not SMRPD.
It was the ICL before Jay took it over.
The ICL ran it
I
for
have to
years.
remind everybody that this is an SMRPD meeting, and this is a conversation having a new director on SMRPD.
Okay, then the fair has nothing to do with it because the fair comes under the ICL.
Phil, yeah, as far as the transparency goes, under the ICL, everything is, subject to complete inspection and all that. It's all above board. And the other comment I'll just make is that the ICL and the SMRPD are not in competition or fighting over this. We're partners in all this. So, and I say that because I was president of the ICL when this was switched over, and we're all friends. So, and everything's above board. All the financials can be seen. Anything.
Linda.
Well, since my name was mentioned, I feel the need to talk about my perspective of that meeting. I thank both of you for participating in that meeting. It was initiated by me, and it was my idea because I knew the insurance at the Parks District, and I knew that they needed insurance, and so I was thinking that that would be a good match, and that would be a good way to start building some bridges, and that would be a good way to start working together. at that meeting, I have to admit that there was a very high level of suspicion and an assumption that on the part of the board members, park board members that were there, that there was something horribly wrong with the way that the Parks District, with the way that the Inner Canyon, the way the Country Fair was being managed, and that there was something really sneaky, potentially illegal, potentially, I don't know, taking the money in the name of nonprofits and using it for personal gain, or I'm not sure what the suspicions were, but there was a hugely high level of suspicion on that. And what I tried to say in the meeting was, that's its own entity, and if you want to raise those questions and raise those concerns, get involved, be a volunteer, raise those concerns. My perception of the Country Fair was it was about to die until Jane stepped in and has resurrected it. And that, as far as I know, the money goes where they say it's going to go. And if I cared about it and wanted to see it be more accountable, I personally would volunteer to do that. Jane, I would suspect, was sensing some of that potential hostility and was saying, I don't know that we need to be accountable to you. This has been going on for years without having to open the books and report to the Parks District. All we're here to talk about is insurance, and the Inner Canyon League is willing to work with us and do the insurance, and we can go forward with the Inner Canyon League without this level of suspicion. And I'm really sorry that a partnership could not be formed at that moment. And it's tragic that there is that level of suspicion, and it's here today as well. And I think that the volunteers that have worked in this community, and everybody's been a volunteer at one point or another, you know, if you care enough, if you're concerned about it, get involved and ask questions. Don't wait until somebody's trying to get something done and then undermine them. Thank you.
I think you completely misread what was said as suspicion. Not knowing is not suspicion. There's a difference between not knowing and being suspicious. If you don't know, it just means there's a lack of transparency. And that's all it was.
Right now.
No, you're not talking right now.
There's a spreadsheet every year. It's black and white. I don't understand the suspicion of the finances.
Nobody had a suspicion, please.
You said suspicion.
No
You said it.
It's recorded. I said
Here. A spreadsheet every year, Ron.
Okay, go ahead.
What are you talking about?
Brett kept the money and bought clothes.
Yeah, I bought a car.
Thank you.
It's ridiculous.
The purpose of this is to hear what the candidates have to say and ask them their positions. I would like to ask Jane a particular kind of thing, and this brings up the very thing that I've talked about before to Ron and others too, is that as you grow, as this organization grows, you're going to need more administrative formality. And you're suffering right now for the lack of that kind of formality. I wonder, Jane, how do you feel about the idea that because the district owns this property and certain equipment, that any use of the district's property or equipment on a regular ongoing basis or particular events should require an application form to be completed by the organization proposing to do it, and that the board should design the application form, asking all the appropriate questions about financing and the use of proceeds, anything that's appropriate, liability issues, whether the organization has insurance, all of those kinds of things. So that the board then can approve the activity, all kinds of things like the the classes you're conducting here and so forth. You need an application for every one of them, all the special events and all the ongoing stuff, it seems to me, and that there should be much more formality about that so that there wouldn't be these kinds of questions. What do you think about that?
Well, I would want to look into it. There is an application form I know already. Whether or not it's formal enough is a good question to look into. Do we need to end up with a 10 or 15-page application form that just makes it so that people decide not to have their activities here because it's so formal? I don't think I'd want to go that direction at all. So somewhere in between, there's got to be a happy medium where we can have enough information so that the board is protected and the property is protected, and yet it's still something where people will want to come in and do the activities here. We're still a small community, and I don't think we're in a position where we really want to turn a lot of activities away. I think we've been very lucky that the activities we've had have all gone well. We haven't had any insurance problems or anything with anything, which is a knock on wood situation, but still somewhere in between. We probably need a better application form than what we have or had. I actually didn't see the one that Lisa did. It may be just fine if that's the one that's currently being used. It may be fine. I'd have to look into it. I couldn't give you an exact answer until I did.
Any more questions for?
One more.
Deborah.
I just want to say a couple of things. One of the things that I want to say is that there's a lot of not knowing because people don't go to ICL meetings. And a lot of people in this room go to ICL meetings and SMRPD meetings. And if you went to both, you would have a much clearer picture of what's actually going on in the canyon. So, and I want to say something about Jane. A few weeks ago, we went to the Children's Center, those of us who were trying to help it. We went through it all with Greg, and he was pointing out, oh, this needs to be fixed, this needs to be fixed. And people, he was writing down notes, not too many other people were writing down notes, and Jane was there. And one of the first things Greg said was, oh, the horse pen and the goat pen need to be cleaned up. So he kept wandering around with everybody else, and I went off to do things in the office. And then I came out, and Jane was shoveling up all the horse poop and all the goat poop. And then I saw her at the fair, and I said, and because she asked at one of the meetings for somebody to help her, because she's going over there every day and doing this, or 4 times a week, I think you said. And so I asked her, I said, well, did anybody show up after you mentioned it at the meeting to help you? And she said, no. So Jane is somebody who actually sees what needs to be done, and she does it. She doesn't need to be thanked. She doesn't need any applause. And she's been doing this for this community for over 20 years. And she cares. She's a caring person. And so I would ask you to please be responsive to the types of ability that she has, and most of all to her heart and to her skills, and to vote for her.
So the last question is, how would you handle, as we grow and we start to acquire properties and we start to get into relationship with other organizations, suppose that we wanted to have an event at this other organization or on one of our properties in the fall. How would you manage that, being on the board and having the responsibility to help with that and the country fair at the same time?
I can make them both work. Unless you land them on the same weekend, and then it would be a little difficult. But, I mean, that would be exciting. To have new properties and new activities would be very exciting.
And I will say this, I mean, I just had to ask these questions because they're asking me often. So, but universally, you're liked and trusted. From Mike Colgan to Shay and Brett. I swear, you are. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about you. So if this came across that way, or as an attack on you personally, it's not. It's just to have the conversation that people have with me, and to get that out there, so that we all know, and that we're all on the common ground about what the concerns of all the citizens, not just some here, and not just this faction here, because we hear them all. And I feel like we represent them all. And because I listen to everybody, because we listen to everybody, our responsibility is to weigh the concerns of each one. We can't please everybody. We can't please every individual. So we just have to listen to everybody and get their concerns and do what we think is best.
Can't please the majority of the community.
I have a comment. It's not a question to Jane because I work close with her all through the country fair and everything. I didn't really, I'm kind of going to answer that as a board director who is also very involved in the country fair, and it's a lot of work, and organizing events is a lot of work, but when there's one that's on top of others, you do them all. And that's what we've been doing. So I don't think, I'm fine, thank you, sure.
Now, a suspicious person would think that was bribery.
I was told I needed some water.
Thank you, that's nice.
Moving along.
I just wanted to say that there's been a lot of responsibilities with the Children's Center as of recent, and the country fair went on as scheduled, and there wasn't any trip up in anything, so I don't think that organizing events has, is any detriment to serving on the board.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Good afternoon, my name is Linda Kearns, and I'd like to thank the board, first of all, for supporting the Laura's House event this morning. It went over really well, and it was a great event. We don't know how much it raised, but we really thank you all for supporting that event. I'd also like to read my letter to the board and then be open for some questions and answers for all of you. So, dear board, I would like to thank you for the last few years of service to the community as an SMRPD board member. It's with great appreciation and respect that I submit my application for the currently vacated SMRPD Board of Director seat. I feel that I am an asset to both the board and the community for many reasons. I have 20+ years of board experience. Heard and seen at some of the supervisor meetings and
Accused out about different things that are not even true, half of them. I mean, you can
well,
take them with a grain of salt.
No,
and I mean,
well, if you, I'm just saying,
what
okay.
exactly, I mean, factually that is
Factually,
considered
they threatened
polarizing.
to sue the ICL for not giving them a membership.
Excuse me, can I
There
speak
was
on
a
that?
letter.
As soon as Deborah's done.
Yeah,
No,
I'm just
correct,
trying to
because
outline.
somebody was denying us a vote, saying we were not residents here.
Right.
And we have lived here since 2006 when we bought the property. But Bob Hunt continues to speak on that. You sent an email less than a week ago speaking about the fact that Linda does not live in the canyon. That is inappropriate and unright. And Phil McWilliams has been at our house. No, we have a resident. We are residents. We live here. I vote here. Linda votes absentee here. I have seen members of this community here casting a vote here. Phil McWilliams has been through our house. He has walked in our bedroom and seen our beds. He has seen our closets. He has seen our kitchen that we cook in. Yet he forwarded an email propagating the propaganda associated with us not being residents here.
Well, now, wait a minute. I'm not propagating, I mean, I have to defend myself.
Did you send the email?
I am not propagating propaganda. You guys very kindly invited me to your house.
Do we live there?
I don't know.
Oh my God!
I'm just saying.
You know what?
I'm just saying.
No,
I mean,
okay.
you showed me your house. I have no reason not to believe you.
Yeah.
But
You
I'm
live in your
not
house?
to say.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I've never seen you at that.
I don't want to be controversial.
I'm sorry.
My platform is
I don't want to be accused of something
Unity.
falsely here, guys.
There are people
Okay.
telling mistruths and misinformation here.
Well, that could be. That's
There's your
That's enough! That's enough! Hey, stop! All of you stop. Bob sent an email out the other day suggesting that Linda wasn't a resident
Let's
here,
stop.
and we
Stop.
put her-
Yeah.
I thought we were going to stop.
You want to leave, Brett?
I'm going to if you
Please.
talk to
Please
people
just
this way.
Brett, what do you expect me to do when the community, when it gets that out of
But you're
control?
stopping it, but then you're carrying on
He's
with it.
trying to chair the meeting, for God's sake.
So I checked with the attorney about what Bob brought up and gave her what so first I called Linda, I said, I need to know this and this and this and this. Passed it off to the attorney writes back at 11:39 this morning, based upon the criteria in your email, such as voting, Mrs. Kearns is domiciled in the district and qualified as a director.
And that satisfied what I had requested, you run it by council, that's all.
And you know what, I appreciate that, Bob. No, I think Bob is totally right. Again, I am certified according to ethics in the Brown Act and AB 1234, and Bob is more than
Within his rights
to
and that's why I
ask for
followed up.
transparency, and I think he should.
I think that's what this board stands for and about. And I think everyone, including Bob, including Phil, including Lisa, should ask for transparency, because we are required to be transparent. That's what this is about. And I think that, on an ending note, that's where I think I can help most, is to create those policies and procedures that Hank talked about, and to advise, because I am a compliance officer on regulatory affairs, and yes, leave the Children's Center to Deborah. I think that that's probably a better idea, and assist with that, and help with transparency and AB 1234 and compliance and policy and procedures.
I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And I think we've heard enough.
I'm sorry, but I do want to point out that it's my understanding that you do own another home in Orange County.
Oh, yes, I did bring the lease for that home for the board to review. I actually am not even, somebody asked about where I sleep at night, so I thought that I'd address that. I've not slept in that house since the first of the year. I did bring the lease for that house, for a 5-year lease for the board to review. That is my original copy. So that house is leased out, and I don't live there anymore, but I would appreciate some assistance from Judy, because my mother is going to be moving in with me, and she is handicapped.
You said you haven't slept there since the first of the year?
Yeah.
And that meant that you were living there during the election?
No, I do go back and forth between both places. I
So
did
where were
go
you
back.
registered during the election?
I was registered here. My driver's license in here, and I've been registered here for way before I even was a member of the ICL.
Thank you.
And that is my 5-year lease for my house in Newport.
Thank you.
So, I don't know. Anybody wants to see it?
I'm sorry, Ron had some questions too.
Oh.
I'm sorry, the comment has been made more than once to me personally, in emails and in phone calls, that Jane, because she finished third, should get, it's like this is a secession thing. And Lisa's resignation did not invalidate the votes for Lisa in any way. That was a valid election, the results were final. So the votes, the people who voted for Lisa, those votes still need to be honored. It doesn't, there is no rule of secession that says automatically that this person gets in. Now, I understand the reasons why everybody wants to do that. But if anyone thinks that choosing Jane is going to be less polarizing, that's not what's going to happen. We're going to get it no matter who we choose. We're going to get it from an equal number of people.
Equal?
I think people are forgetting.
In this room, maybe that's not true, but in the district.
No. Not even close.
Majority of this
And I will say that I've got more letters came in and more recommendations to choose Linda came in than to choose Jane.
Oh, right,
Of course
right.
you did. I mean, you were appointed, Ron, you weren't elected. I mean, come on, Ron, if you ran for Congress, you ran for Congress. You
No, Dad, that's really not.
That's important. Getting votes is important.
It was the voice of the people in the residents in this community at that election.
Lisa got the votes, did she not?
Yeah, but we know.
Those votes are still there, are they not?
We
She did a
know.
good job. I mean, come on. Lisa did a good job.
Well, I just, it's interesting, Linda, I'm impressed the way you handle yourself. Obviously, you have a lot of experience, you're very smooth, you're very diplomatic, and I like what you're saying. Unfortunately, I think we had a good example of the polarization just now, and I'm assuming this is your husband, perhaps here, who obviously is vociferously supportive of you, and who I have a problem with because of things he had said at the Planning Commission. So I guess from my personal point of view, it sounds pretty good, but I don't know you, and I'd like to see your involvement and see how you do in terms of not polarizing the community for a little while. I get it that you have some things you could offer us, but at the risk of continuing this sort of acrimony, I would say, if I were voting, which I'm not, I wouldn't take that chance yet. But, and so, just because I don't know you, I'm sorry. So,
Where's your
Yeah,
wife?
I mean, I've been a member of the ICL for many years and on the fundraising committee, and I think I've proven that, you know, I can be independent of my husband. I'm a different person, and I'm running, so I hope you all remember that.
Yeah, I just have one quick comment. I know that, and I appreciate all the passion that's in this room and all of your interest in the popularity of either one of the two candidates. I would just say personally, and maybe because it's me, I don't know, I did receive a phone call from one Canyon individual encouraging me to vote for Jane. I received 2 emails from Canyon people encouraging me to vote for Jane, and I received 13 emails from Canyon people urging me to vote for Linda.
Which were probably solicited knowing you, Tom.
And you just sat there and laughed at the rest of it.
You're out of order, please. I'm speaking. So I'm saying that from a standpoint of popularity, if we were to look at Lisa's votes and say, well, gee, all of the people, well, this is a bad assumption, but if we could say a lot of the people that voted for Lisa did not vote for Jane. So we can't just go by, well, let's go for popularity. We have to, as a board, we have to look at all factors. And I think popularity is a factor, but I also think qualifications are a factor. So I think we have to balance those out. So I think the decision of the board will be based on the total picture rather than who's most popular or who's whatever.
If qualifications were a factor, you wouldn't be here.
I would love to make a comment on that, in that our democratic process is not popularity contest, that should never be.
It's no one, I gotta just say, it's no wonder the normal people in this community don't come to these meetings. You all are nuts.
Remember, we have an election coming up in November.
You really epitomize it.
I will make a motion.
Tom just moved that we appoint Linda Kearns to the vacant seat, and Ron seconded. So I asked if any of the board wants to talk about pros or cons, or why we had to do a motion in order to talk about stuff. So talk about, anybody want to make comments on one way or the other, or what you like about one or the other, or both, or?
This is really hard. I mean, if I went on how many people here...
You know what, stop wasting our time. We all knew you were gonna do this, and, you know, you're predictable. You're so predictable.
Get the people out of here that are being rude.
Thank you, I'm really glad you came last
Hi,
night.
Lisa. Kicking a cripple when she's down.
I get called that all the time. I love that.
If I had to worry about the number of people I pissed off, I would have voted for Jane here in this room. Because the angry people come to this room. There are a lot of people who don't come here for the same reason that that lady walked out. And they talk to us, they call us. So that actually, no matter who we chose, we were going to get it. I'm going to get it here, we're going to get it here, because the angry people come here. And the people who are angry are going to attack us, are going to do it no matter what. I'm going to get it on both sides. I got accused the other day of trying to please everybody. The problem is I don't. I listen to everybody, and I piss off both sides.
No,
the number
you
of times I've gotten phone calls from the
No,
other
you
side.
don't. The only one you piss off are us, and we know
That's
who's
not
us.
true. That's simply
You
not
have
true.
done things that are so patently obvious that you are supportive of the group of people that volunteers so that they can receive personal gain.
Right.
We've all seen it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Ron, there's a very good reason why you are hardly here. Because you're not capable of managing. And you are constantly told what to do, and like a good little soldier, you do it. You know it, I know it, and everybody in the room knows it. More importantly, a lot of people in this community know it.
You
It's
haven't a clue what you're
ridiculous.
talking about.
Really, that's really tacky.
Let's remember, everyone, we have an election in November of next year.
Yeah, we do have an election, please.
Can
Thank you.
you, you want to say anything
Yeah,
else?
why don't you say that?
Okay.
We'll make sure the right people get
Anybody
it.
forgot last Christmas in the canyon?
I have so many comments, we don't have time.
I'm sure.
I just know that being a part of this district, whether I was sitting in a chair where people are now for the 8 years that my husband was on the board, the last few of them with the appointment process has been one of the most difficult of dealing with the SMRPD, as far as everything we've talked about here where we don't get any business done because we're always talking about compliance and train wrecking and putting the train back on the track and train wrecking again and not getting anywhere. If we could just look at what we should do and have the ethics about us, not thinking about what group we represent, who put us here, but what we really need to do, which is listen to our community as a whole. Our community spoke in the election, and the community speaks now that we need someone who has been here a long time, has established themselves in the community, who cares, who isn't a part of any controversial group. I don't know why you're making the statements towards Jane as if you were talking to me. Jane is not the Canyonland Conservation Fund, and as if that needs to be polarizing, we do good work here. We're not part of any lawsuit. I mean, seriously. What we need to do is what's right by the community, so we can come to these meetings, we can work together, we can get things done, we can manage land, we can have recreation and not bickering. And what you guys, I feel that you are getting ready to do is going to encourage more of the same. And I say we appoint Jane Bowman, we do something good for this community that they will be proud of, and they will come to these meetings, they will help us, and we will start to get along.
Two great candidates, flip a coin. You've got two great candidates. Everybody likes them all, basically, like both of them.
So like Ron said, for me, it's really hard because both of the candidates are qualified. They both have great strengths. They don't really have weaknesses in my mind. In regards to everybody's presumption that Jane should receive it because she received the next highest votes, what I heard from people at the election last time was that, it's because I was out lobbying, who are you going to vote for? And they said, no, we're going to vote for Shay and we're going to vote for Lisa because we want the community to be evenly represented. We aren't going to vote for two of these and we're not going to vote for two of these. And I got that from a lot of people in Modjeska that I talked to. So my feeling then is I like both of them, but the people wanted to see the people come one of each, and so I'm more inclined to vote for Linda than I am for Jane, even though I like them both and I think they're both going to do great
I'll
jobs.
still say 4-1.
You're unbalanced.
You're unbalancing it. That doesn't balance it.
Well, it's going to be further unbalanced in November.
It is.
Because 3 are up for re-election, and this is their way to appoint one.
And
No, well let me correct that. In November, next November for the election,
a year from next month.
A year from this coming.
Yeah, a year from this November, 4 seats will be up for election. Because whoever we fill only fills the term until this coming November. They don't get the entire remainder of Lisa's term.
Is that true?
Yes, I know that's exactly true, and I have announced that in the past. And I
So
specifically
there's
announced...
going to be 4 on the election in
There will be,
November 14th?
next November, there will be
I did not
3,
know that.
well,
Sorry.
I've announced it multiple times.
Then shouldn't they have voted to replace the 3 of you in the last election?
Let me finish and I'll get up with that. So that's what's gonna happen. So there'll be, next year in November, there'll be a 1 2-year position, and there'll be 3 4-year positions. So it's gonna be free-for-all next year. Go ahead, anything for you?
No, I've made my comment. I feel if we're looking at qualifications alone, if we did not talk to or see any of the candidates and just look at the qualifications, I've got to appreciate what Linda Kearns has got to offer. That's my, aside from the rhetoric of the polarization and how long she's been as a canyon, and that was just irrelevant to the job we're doing here. And I think the important thing is, this position is replacing Lisa Collins. Lisa Collins had a certain, let's say, agenda or profile. So we won't find a duplicate of Lisa Collins, but we have to look at it that possibly the people that voted for her, obviously enough of them have contacted me to say I like Linda. So I have to go with
Did
that.
Supervisor Campbell do that when he appointed you over Mark Levy, Bob Hunt, and Tricia Evans? Did you fill their seats? What were your qualifications to Supervisor Campbell that far exceeded everyone else who put their name in the hat?
If he was wrong, or would we be wrong for doing
He
the
was
same?
wrong.
He was dead wrong.
He was dead wrong.
Well, cool. Well, there's an election next November, and we get to see how that all turns out. So,
Can you take a vote?
yeah. So, do a roll call vote. All in favor of the motion,
At least I don't think
to appoint Linda?
You're not gonna speak for the gift
That would be good.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Did you take a vote?
Yeah, we took a vote. It was
Get a glass of wine, you see their bad breath.
it was a roll call vote. It was Tom and Ron and myself voting for Linda and Shay voting against. Okay. Next item.
I don't think anybody's in the mood right now to hear about the Children's Center, but we're working really, really hard to fix things up. I don't really care to talk about it right now.
Okay, so Lindy sent me a 21-page report. I just got it today from the Children's Center, so when we have a chance to go over it, we'll bring that report, and I think she'll be here at the next month's meeting.
Can you post that on the website in the meantime? Would that be appropriate?
Not all of her report, because it deals with issues that can't be discussed in public, but, I mean, the gist of it is, we all knew there were issues. She's identified the issues. She's got a action plan of what should happen, where we are, what's been done, what needs to be done, and that goes on for like 12 of the pages. So it's really organized. I'm really happy with how she's doing it. She apologized for not being here, but they had a vacation plan, and I said, we're so glad you're doing it. She kind of was looking for a little bit of direction from the board. Are we happy with her direction that she's going? I told her I was ecstatic, so.
I don't know what she's doing.
Okay.
From what I've talked to her, I like what she's doing.
What do you think from what you've seen?
I adore her.
I'm so happy I just can't. I'm tickled pink. So, we've had 2 inspections since she took over. One happened about a day or 2 after she was there, and it was the county lease people coming out, and they went through what they want us to fix, which we all knew we wanted to fix too. Then we had the staff from the, anyway, the licensing people came, and they gave us pretty much the same thing, which we knew we were getting. I think they were very happy that they could see where we were going and saw what our plan is to fix the place up. We did get dinged. There was one paper that wasn't in the file, and we got a penalty fine on that, so we're going to ask them to waive that fine. Because it was actually, what she wanted was actually done, it just wasn't in the file where it was, here's the piece of paper and here you go. Is that about right, Jane? They couldn't find the paper on Lindy.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
now.
So, So as far as I can tell, it's great.
One of the things that we would have been dinged on come October 31st was the wood chips. And we can't afford them, and it's, you know, just even getting the delivery there if we could, you know. Dan Dulac made that happen within 24 hours. And I think that's awesome. And I also want to say that we talk a lot about Lindy and the things that she's doing. And when Lindy gets there, Jenny has already run the office. Jenny has done so.
Jenny is at the top of Linda's I love you the most list, because she's doing payroll, she's doing scheduling. You know, Lindy is looking at, okay, here it is, what do we need to change? Well, that's pretty much taken all of her time. So Jenny has been filling everything out perfectly to make the place run and keep the operations going, while Lindy's working on the stuff that we need to make it the way we want it to be in 6 months or a year. So Jenny is at the absolute top of Lindy's I love you the most list. So
Ours too.
And Jenny's been doing that without a pay raise.
Without a pay raise.
Okay, so next item on the agenda, and then we're pretty much done. Discussion and board vote to approve SMRPD counsel to advise the board of legal issues surrounding confidential and personnel files. Well, Shay had asked to put it on. I was out of the country and I couldn't really have a discussion about it, so.
Can I talk about it since I brought it up?
Well, yes, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to, it's not just the Children's Center files that were viewed and touched that are confidential personnel files. And I don't know what else in the office is confidential. I'm sure there's other things with parent financial information. Children's analysis reports made by teachers that are not to be viewed by anyone but the director and the teacher. It's of big importance, and it was immediately to my family when I went home and found out that my social security number and everything was in a file that could be viewed by someone because they were allowed to go in and touch those files. And as far as I'm concerned, and everyone that I've talked to, including my father-in-law, who's a police chief of 30 years, it is illegal to touch those files, whether they are locked or not. You don't go into personnel files. So I feel personally violated. I know Jenny's family feels the same way. And even before that, when this current board began, after the appointment process, there were keys to files here that were confidential, that were from there were legal confidential files in this room where a key was handed off to someone in the public to come and go and look and do whatever. We never got the story on that. We never found out about the key. And as far as I know, the key's not returned. I certainly don't have a key, but members of the public do. I would never touch the personnel files at the Children's Center, but members of the public were allowed to. And I feel this is a big issue that we need legal counsel. And I'm not talking about just an email with your version of it. And I'm sorry, I don't need to talk down at you. I'm just serious that I want Jenny and I to talk to an attorney and to tell what we saw and what we know and find out and have this board told by our attorney and attorney whatever what we are or not to do with confidential files.
I think what has to happen here is, Jenny, I understand your concerns, and I'm back there. I think that what has to happen is you have to document specifically what has occurred.
Yeah, we all know it.
Well, I'm just saying that would be what you would turn over to the legal counsel. It's just not an accusation that somebody looked at somebody's files and somebody may have found something. You've got to be specific.
No, I think they're perfectly specific in what they brought up. And here's what happened. If I've told you all, you understand it, you can stop me, but obviously not everybody's heard. So when Amy was getting ready to leave, Linda went in and was going through the office with Amy. And she called me up and she said, Greg, you don't have the stuff that you need in the way that it should be, so that when these people from licensing come in, you have the binder and everything they need is this organized in this specific manner in one place, and you just get it and there it is. So the other day when the licensing person came out, Lindy had already fixed that binder up and had it. The only paper missing from the binder was the one where Lindy transferred her legal, background check. Yeah, so Lindy has all this background check, I'm a good person, I'm life scanned, I'm whatever. We didn't have the piece of paper that showed that we transferred that from her prior job to our facilities. We received a $500 fine for not having one page of paper in that file. So when I sent Linda to the Children's Center and I said, get that thing going, because if somebody had walked in and we didn't have all that data, in hand, ready to go, that was the problem, and that's why I sent them there to work on it. So they got there and called, Amy was gone at that point, called Amy, Jenny came, nothing happened, it all stopped. So when Lindy got there, she's gone together and she's put it all together. Our big problem is all that files should have been locked up. Now, I sent Lindy out and told her to buy a locked file cabinet the day she got there. So that's all locked away now. I have more concerns about accessibility to the site, and we're going to have to figure out a way to address that, because as far as I know, almost everybody knows the combination to the front gate, and everybody knows there's no lock on the gate. Everybody except me until a few weeks ago knows where the key is to get into any of the buildings. The door to the office still doesn't have a lock on it, and that's one of Lindy's priorities. We're going to change the lock to the director's office. So, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been done right, but that was the reason that I sent them there, was to get that, whatever you call it, I'm calling it a binder, but has everything that has to be seen by those licensing people. And Lindy still has a whole bunch of stuff that's not correct in the binder, but it's because it's just not there. Amy hadn't got everything together. It's literally not there because now they've looked through the whole thing. And so she's working on that. The person had no problem with it because it's all in a process and she was happy with it. Brett's first.
Greg, I don't know how to, I didn't put all this together correctly in my mind how this is, but my problem is that you gave them permission unilaterally out of your duties as president, because you don't have that authority, for one, to allow someone to go into someone's personnel files. That should have been done through the board. You guys should have discussed it and put somebody there. If that takes a special meeting, whatever, but you just did that, and then you allowed Lisa, who already doesn't like Shay. This is true. You don't. Come on.
But you're making.
But what I'm saying is, Lisa's going through files, and Linda. Wait, and then as this is going on, this should have been discussed and who was going to go through the personnel files to make sure everyone was comfortable with who's going through them. When my dad runs an agency, he ran the fire department and the police department, he didn't even have access to them. And there was a person, and when someone did go in, they had to log it in, the date and everything, to go to one file, let alone all the files. So the procedure that you allowed, locked or not unlocked or whatever, you allowed this to happen. It wasn't a thief coming in, you allowed this. And if my social security number, maiden names, Lisa has the gumption after going through the files to tell Shay, oh, your CPR isn't up to date. Now she's questioning Shay. She's questioning Shay on what's in her file. So she's a liar, so we won't even have to listen to that. This is wrong.
Lisa did question me on
I'm holding you accountable
after going through
because
my
you stepped out of your protection of our board and unilaterally made a decision. So you have just unidentified yourself by being on the board, by doing this. So if my social security number, or there's credit coming down on my accounts or anything, because someone has access to my social security number, I'll have to do something about this. I'm really upset that you allowed my personal information to people like Lisa to go in there without any discussion with the rest of the board or anything. It's just beyond me. You could have went to Amy, called her up to see how she would have handled it. You could have talked to Lindsay. You could have talked to people first, but you just allowed it. And then the people you let go in there, not so much Linda, but Lisa, I don't trust her for one iota. You know, it's just not going to happen.
I feel that it was a malicious act. And whether it was or not, I don't know, and I can't say that. But it
you just said it was.
I do. I know.
It is a malicious act.
I'm telling you how I feel. And I feel that it was a malicious act on me and on Jenny in light of Jenny's complaint about the threat to her job in the parking lot. It just went boom, boom, boom like dominoes.
No,
That's what
I asked them to go in way before there was any issue with Jenny and Tom.
Can I make a statement since
No, you're not next. Deborah was next.
I just wanted to say that Brett's absolutely right. It really is on you because you ask people of the public to go in, no matter if they're on advisory boards or what, that doesn't really count. The California Department of Education publishes a very nice little handbook that all of you should read. You're trying to govern a children's center and you don't even know what the state requirements are. And it's very easy, and I suggest you get it and that you read it so that you understand what is allowed and what isn't allowed.
Maybe you can email us what it is so we can go find it.
Okay.
Lisa's.
Okay, so I'm being accused, and I've said that I didn't do this multiple times. So Jenny, when you walked into the office, where were the personnel files?
They were on the floor.
Okay, was I looking through those files?
You were looking through things, the immunization records, yes, in the children's files.
So she wasn't looking at the
Did you have
personnel
access to the files?
Yeah, they were on the floor,
Yes.
they've been removed.
I don't care if you looked at them or not, you had access.
You had removed them, and they were on the floor.
I don't care if you looked at
I
them.
asked you why they were on the floor.
Right,
Doesn't matter.
What did I say? They're on the floor because
Doesn't
they're
matter
putting
about
them. Okay, Brett, I am not talking to you. Be quiet, please. I said I removed the files. They were on the floor against the wall, waiting to go into a locked cabinet.
But you don't have authority to remove them from an unlocked cabinet and put them on the floor.
Okay.
Where pieces of the file may have fallen out. There's two teachers so far that suddenly don't have TB tests and don't have other things. And there were the license mentioned.
And
It's
I've just told you that I took them out and they were on the floor. I was
I
not
guess-
going through any files.
You know, you can tell me that.
Yeah.
Things are popping up. Things are
Jenny,
popping up.
if someone had a TB test that was active and current, the doctor would have a copy. They wouldn't have to be going getting a new
I know, and
TB test.
they just did that. They're both doing it. It's
They're
two
both-
of the teachers, and they had to make appointments and get it done by Wednesday. It's such a hassle.
We were
cited for that. We were cited.
But they needed their TB test.
They already had it. It was removed, and you would never have hired anybody without a TB test or a physician's report. That just would never have happened.
But your TB test expires and you have to get a new one every so often.
Not when you're hired. When you're hired,
No, you have to be, well, I
The
should
fact
think-
is, this isn't even the problem. The
Excuse me, I'm
problem
not done
is,
speaking. The comment that Shay said that I looked at her CPR thing is so false. When I was in the other room and I was asking Linda, what forms do we need? What do we have to have? What's part of the, compliance? No, what's part of the compliance? And she said, we need to have CPR certification on the teachers. Shay happens to walk in and I said, Shay, have you guys been certified?
is that your
was the
business?
question.
No, you asked me specifically for my certification that you couldn't find it, and I said,
Okay, that-
no, Lisa, maybe,
a lie.
I can help you. Because remember I said, it's probably in my wallet at home somewhere. I'm sure I have a copy of it. That's what my response.
say that
I
to me?
said that. This is
No.
getting out at,
but where were you? Are you the director that should be asking Shay for her CPR qualification?
she's trying to be helpful.
Helpful?
Helpful. Oh
By
my
going through
Helpful
personnel
because
files?
She says to be compliant, the teachers need CPR certificates. So I asked, when were the teachers last certified?
So
is
Greg,
that
did you ask
inappropriate?
Lisa to make sure
I asked
people had their
that.
CPR as well?
asked them to do is go in and make sure that this file was there.
Which file?
And that, the compliance file, so that the people come in, they go,
There's many files
I
of
want to see
personnel.
Jenny Scott's CPR thing, I want to see Shay's TB test, I want to see, they just ask you for random.
And Greg, and in light, and
Yes,
in,
but a director is the one that goes through the files to make sure that everything is in compliance.
Right, so when Linda went and first met with Amy, and as Amy was getting ready to go.
Amy's not saying this ever happened. You need to call Amy. Amy's
Well-
saying she was never implicit around the corner, or she never gave them permission to do
No, she
anything
did
in the
not.
office.
I gave them permission, because when.
You did, but Amy did not. So-
I didn't say she did.
Oh.
What I said was I sent that Linda met with Amy before Amy left. Linda came to me afterwards and said, Greg, you're missing the stuff, and if you don't have it and they come and do an inspection, you're gonna get fined.
I'm sorry, who told? Linda told you this when? When Amy was still the director?
Yes.
Why wouldn't she have told Amy about that?
Well, had Amy left yet?
I can answer that. I did talk to Amy, and as a matter of fact, she asked me to send her the table of contents for the licensure manual, and which I did send her that and all the policies and procedures, so you'd probably find them on her email. So I was working with Amy on those things as well. But Deborah, I want to make a point that, something that Deborah said. The board is required to go through an orientation for the Children's Center. So I think it really is a good idea that there is some orientation for the board of directors for the Silverado Children's Center.
Or maybe should have been before they went in the office, perhaps.
But
I think
at
there
that
should be
point,
policies.
Amy was gone.
Yes.
But Debbie came into the office to help, and she was helping. She asked Jenny for particular items to find in files that Jenny was authorized to go into. She was very respectful of the policies and procedures of going into another office, and didn't just walk in and just start pulling things out, looking at whatever, and putting them on the floor, or whatever, as if they had every right to be there unannounced.
Even licensing never went through the files. Licensing had the decency to ask me if I could give her 5 of these kinds of files, 5 of these, and all the personnel.
it's
But
just,
you understand that there needs to be something that's there, that's ready. I'm calling it a binder, I don't know what the right word is.
Sure.
That says, they come in and ask for stuff, and you go, oh, I have that right here, I have that right here, here you go. And then the person leaves happy because they received what they want, and on the...
It's
on
not
the
a
right-
volunteer job. It's not a volunteer. It's a qualified person that should have access to the file. It's not a volunteer person.
So I brought this up to the attorney, and I said, send me something, I'm gonna have the meeting, it's gonna come up. So she replies, your confidential files should be locked. Well, we all know that, and they are now locked. You can authorize, you meaning me, can authorize a volunteer to use them to carry out his or her assignment. My assignment to them was prepare this binder so that when the county compliance person comes in, it's all there.
I
It's all
disagree.
ready to go. Second, the volunteer should not disclose confidential information. Well, obviously, the reason I picked Linda is I knew that this is kind of what she does as a business, and she's not going to go telling anybody anything that she sees. You use lots of volunteers at the Children's Center. The implication and the reason she said that is that what I'm feeling is that a lot of people don't like the 2 volunteers that I picked, but a lot of other people are in there all the time and everybody's perfectly happy with it.
Not in the office.
It's good.
Not in the office.
I'm fine if you say you don't like somebody. I understand that. She said she'll write us up a fuller memo, and if you would like to call her and talk to her, then that'd be good.
I didn't want to do it
No.
without board permission. I never went to her on this subject. But what I'm wondering is if you talked to her as if you were speaking as the board?
Yeah.
Or yourself
I was speaking
personally
as-
without the board?
The president's duties are only 2 things, and it's written in the policy, and that is to chair the meetings and appoint committees. That's your duty. Those are your only duties. Anything else has to go through the board. You don't have this, like, you're the President of the United States authority. It's written in our policy. And you've overstepped the policy of this board. You don't have that authority. No, he does not.
I can't
It's in the
comment
policy.
on your thing.
It says it.
At that
It's written.
point, that point, we didn't have a director of the Children's Center.
It doesn't matter. Then you get your board together and you say, hey, we need to get our files in order. Let's take a vote and let's get some people in there to do it. It's the way you guys always do everything, like knee-jerk reactions, just like I am in the meetings, you know? It's just like you just do things. And it's really upsetting because my personal information was compromised. And you did this. And if you would have done it within the board, you would have been protected. Because all of you guys would have made a choice to do this. Don't you get it? It's a board. Have you read the policy and your duties? It says it.
I hear what you're saying, Brett, and I'm sorry if it upset you.
It's really upsetting.
When I asked you that day, are you telling me that you have unilateral power to overstep the board and go into these files and appoint whoever you choose to go into these confidential files? You said to me, I know, I'm just as upset as you are about it, but unfortunately, I do. And I said, I strongly disagree with that. And when I went and spoke to some other people who are on boards, who run agencies, said, absolutely not, no president of a local agency can overstep the board and have unilateral power to make a decision for the board. And that's what Brett's trying to say.
Okay, well, I hear you, and I don't know, so we're gonna put it, you and Jenny can talk to the attorney, we'll figure out how to do that.
And I do appreciate that, and thank you very much.
And just so the whole board knows, when there's an issue like this, you don't have to make it an agenda item. Call me. In fact, I emailed you and I said, flesh this out, we'll send it to the attorney and we could bring a resolution maybe today. But you might not have gotten the email because my emails weren't working very good.
Well, I wanted to be within the, I know people get sick of around that word, but I just want things to be done in the public setting. So then when, later on, when a bill comes down from the attorney, oh, that's when Shay said, blah, 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 just like you guys pinned the $1,500 on Sherry Medic for the
Open Act request.
Open Act request. And I wanted to make sure that we agreed in the meeting collectively that we would do that we would ask an attorney to tell us what to do with our files, and not just the Children's Center files, but the files here. Where are the keys? I want to know, that things are protected here. Things that should be protected, and we should want to protect them. And that's all I'm trying to accomplish here.
I think we all want them protected.
Just a quick question. If the president's duty is to appoint committees, would it not be considered a committee to appoint two people to do a job?
There is an ad hoc committee.
That appointing committee process.
We didn't even go through the ad hoc committee to make this decision.
Here, with your community.
You bypassed the committees that are appointed.
Not at home for someone to go do something.
I'm sorry, I have another event. We're doing a charity event tonight, so I have to participate in that. But I am willing to sign an affidavit, sworn, certified, and notarized, and even under oath, that I did not review the personnel files and look at the content of any of them, number one. And also, if there's a complaint against the board, you, according to the Brown Act, you have 30 days to correct and cure. So I take it under consideration if it's filed, written, and then you have 30 days to correct and cure. So I'm sorry. Thank you all for listening to me. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to serving the community. Congratulations.
Linda, before you go, and I'm sorry we haven't done this, I would like to be the first on the board to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working together in unity to accomplishing something like Shay said.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
So we'll figure out a way for you guys to talk to the attorney so you can bring it back. She said she'd write a memo if we needed it, but we should make sure that she's got every side of the issue pointed out to her.
Is there anything that you can, information that you can gather and bundle together for the attorney before you go to her, so we don't?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll make sure we've got it all and the questions concise, so we're not just burning through her time.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you guys, anything you need to ask the attorney, if you don't don't like that I'm using a green pen, that's, you're welcome. I mean, we're not just all calling her randomly, we should, you know, put it through the
Well,
president.
there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that we can find out online and in agency documents that are already there and on state websites, so we shouldn't go to her for these things that we could find out ourselves.
Well, we don't.
This
I use her
is hard.
as absolutely sparing as possible, because she's not cheap.
Can I make just a quick comment, because I'm now a little paranoid? I used to work for the board, I've got a lot of files in there with personal information. Can we make sure that there aren't keys floating around over here? And if necessary, maybe rekey and get that all under control?
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound paranoid, but my sister had her identity stolen and it was living hell. So, you know.
I've never even seen the keys for the cabinets, I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good to get them rekeyed and just start fresh. Get the protocols in.
And we'll be doing the same thing with the Children's Center. We're gonna come up, you know, gonna task Lindy with the plan, how do we secure the place and make it.
Get the locksmith to hit these up too.
Well, I mean, and the problem that we gotta talk about is with all the volunteers that go there, how do we make it work so the volunteers can show up and do their job, so.
Today, a volunteer said, "Can you help me in the office?" And I said, "Oh, well, what you need is right there on the desk. I left you some business cards." And she said, "Oh, I don't want to go in the office without you." That was so respectful.
I just wanted to point out that in the policy document, there's a fairly detailed procedure on how the keys are supposed to be accounted for. I can't say that it's ever been followed.
Okay, do we have any director's reports? All right, is there a motion to? Yes,
I'm
Deborah.
sorry, one other thing. We did set up the closet in the Modjeska Community Center, so for your absolutely old files that you want to lock up, you can lock up in that closet over there, so they wouldn't even be in this room.
Is that, is there a closet with no windows in it? Or is it the room?
It's the room.
There's a
It's
window
one
in it.
wall. Steve did it. We set it all up so you could put all the locked files in there because there's not really enough room here.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see, we can't need, I mean, I don't know how far back we keep stuff, but look how many stuff there is.
They're just jammed.
I wonder if we should think about digitizing it and throwing the originals, you know, shredding the originals.
It's like the ICL files, the SMRPD files are,
Yeah. A lot of it's just
a lot of old stuff that we.
You can check with counsel, but you're supposed to keep financial stuff for a long time.
Okay. Any director's comments?
No comments.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a comment. I would like to say, thank you, Jane. You've been now through the election process
The appointment process.
and it didn't go the way that I feel you deserve. And I feel that this didn't go the way that you deserve, and I hope you know that in your deepest heart that you have, you know that this community adores you, and all you need to do is put your name on the next election ballot. You will be helping us here. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second? Adjourn? All in favor?
Okay.